webinar we have on dumb access management tricks. And appreciate your time, and do want to hear your feedback, and we'll give you an opportunity for that also. And one of the first questions that usually comes up is about the credits for the professional engineers out there. When you signed up for the course, you should have had the opportunity to give us your name and your Florida PE number. But if you just came in and you didn't do that, feel free to email us after we end this with that information. It's important that you know that we can't process anything for anybody other than Florida. And all right. Today, who you have behind the booth here is myself, Gary Socolow, Gina Bognani, and Holly Monroe, and we work together on lots of issues, access management being one, the other site impact analysis, and you will probably be seeing some mix of us in future webinars. And just wanted you to know that we were what we look like when we're talking, and so you'll see our pictures every so often. I'd like to explain the interface a little bit, and Holly, would you care to talk some on this?
Sure. All right. I've got a few housekeeping items to let you know how you can participate today in the webinar. We're looking at an example of the GoToWebinar attendee interface. You've got two main parts here. The viewer window is that on your left, which allows you to see everything the presenter is going to share. That's the main presentation we're watching today. And then on the right side is the control panel, and that's how you participate mostly in today's event. So let's go ahead and look at that. Gary? Thank you. Okay. First thing you need is to know how to control opening the control panel. If you click that orange arrow right there, that's how you open and close it. It's a hide sort of function there. There you go. Also, from the View menu, you can set the control panel to not auto-hide, because that gets kind of annoying if you are trying to use some of the tools. So go down to auto-hide and unclick that. Also, if you go to your audio pane, that shows whether you are on the webinar mic or speakers, and by default you should be on the computer mic and speakers. If you click Audio Setup, you can change that if you want to call in instead. If you prefer to use the telephone, you can select that and use the dial-in information, which will be displayed, and after you put in the access code, it will ask you for an audio PIN, which is unique to you. So you need to go ahead and put that in as well. At the end of the presentation, and actually a couple times in the middle, we're going to have the ability to ask questions, and you can ask our webinar staff or individual people. Simply type your question in that box and hit send, and we'll address those, like I said, at appropriate times during the webinar. We also may ask you to answer a question specifically, and if you raise your hand, we can allow you to speak by unmuting you. So that's the raise your hand icon right there on the left side of your control panel. And as a final reminder, everything today is being recorded, so if you have a specific question we can address later, we'll send those by email. There again is the box where you ask a question.
This is Gary again. Before we start, I'd like to know who we have out there. If you're interested, we have 190 people. I believe I have allowed the ability for you to see who is on. And the first poll question I want to ask is, who do you represent? And particularly interested in how many Florida DOT people are here, because we do work for them. And we got people voting. So far, a lot of consultants. I'm going to let us have a few more moments to vote. And okay. I know it's hard for some of you that if you have a group around there, you go, well, what do we put in there? Just do your best to say who your group is that you represent. All right. With around 90 people we have that have already done this, I'm going to close the poll and I'm going to let you see it. Okay. Now, so you can see that right there, that the majority of you are Florida-based consultants or consultants that do work in Florida. And a good even split between Florida DOT and Florida local and regional metro government officials. And we have a contingent here from outside of Florida, and I really do appreciate that. Obviously, it means that we do some things here that are of interest to others. And I really do appreciate you people from California and Canada who have been here in the past who keep showing up to these. I take that as a compliment. Okay, next speaking will be Gina, and she'll be speaking about frontage roads. And before we go on, I got to say I've been in the business of access management since probably the late 1970s. So I remember the first publications that came out from Federal Highway giving us instructions on how to do good access management. And frontage roads was a big deal. They encouraged us to build lots and lots of frontage roads. So as the title says, not always a good idea, not always the best idea, and Gina Bognani will be speaking to us about this.
Thank you, Gary. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon, and welcome to our Access Management webinar. Well, like Gary said, I don't have as much experience as Gary does, but many, many years ago, maybe these frontage roads were useful, but again, as the traffic grows and congestions occur, these frontage roads do not operate as they used to. So these frontage roads are a roadway that are parallel to the main road, and they separate the movement or the turning traffic to the establishment or to any development. So these frontage roads work, I mean, they are designed well, but again, as soon as you put traffic on these frontage roads, many confusions occur, many conflicts occur, and therefore causes crashes. So let's go to the next one, Gary. Okay, so this is again an example of a problem with a frontage road. As you can see, a turning movement takes place on the frontage road, and you see the activities that happens in and out this establishment. Next. All right, this location is here in Tallahassee on Appalachia Parkway, and this is an example. This is a frontage road that we got. Can you see my arrow, or let me see if I can, I think I can draw. Okay, this is Appalachia Parkway. Okay, this is the main road. And this is a frontage road right parallel to Appalachia Parkway. And we have an establishment to the right, which is Best Buy and some other stores. All right, I've been on this frontage road, and many conflicts happen, especially during the peak hour. Cars, as they approach the stop sign, then we got cars going in and out the establishment. Go to the next one, Gary. Okay, so conflicts occur usually when cars are exiting the establishment wanting to merge with the main line. And as you can see, trucks right blocking the roadway, it's sitting in the middle and waiting for a gap in order to merge with the main line. So again, these frontage roads may separate some of the traffic from the main line, but again, confusion may happen, and especially if drivers are not familiar with these area or these frontage roads, really can cause a lot of confusion. Next, please. So that's the same frontage road that I just showed you. It ends at this intersection, which this is Magnolia. So you can only make a right turn at this light, even though there is a light specifically for this right turn movement, but there is no sign that says no turn on red. So therefore, cars can make a right turn and can create a conflict with the main line coming from Magnolia. Again, this is another snapshot of the same frontage road, and that's where it's coming to ends right here at Magnolia, and wanting to, these cars, like I said, can only make a right turn. And this is on the right, another, just a snapshot of the location. All right, this is in Florida, this is Colorado, and in this specific location, there are service roads on both sides. As you can see, on both sides, there are two service roads. And at the time, many conflicts. Again, service roads, sure, they separate some of the traffic movement out of the through movement, and we think we may have more capacity on the main road. But drivers can get confused. With these two service roads on both sides, and it's a continuous, well, drivers thought it's a continuous service road. So they just, many conflicts occurred, therefore it caused many crashes. What Colorado did, they placed these Jersey barriers to let the drivers know that these service roads are not continuous lanes. They're not extended to the beyond the intersection. So with these Jersey barriers, drivers know that these service roads do not continue. So again, service roads, if we're not really clear, if we're not providing good guidance, can get very confusing for some drivers. And this is another snapshot of the same location, Colorado, that you can see the Jersey barrier just to block the through, just to let the drivers know these service roads are not continuous. And another confusion that may occur when we have a service road, it's for pedestrian. As you can see, having a service road parallel to the main road, obviously there is a very wide cross section that a pedestrian has to cross. And as you can see, this pedestrian with a stroller wanting to cross the main line, and so even though she's using this median as a barrier, so she has to cross and get to the next median and cross the road. Therefore, a confusion and may occur not just for the drivers, for pedestrian, and again, these confusions at times lead to crashes. All right, so everything we do is not just bad access management. We do have good access management. So what we do, rather than having a service road right parallel to the main road, why not provide a backage road? Make all the activities, all the turning movement happen beyond the main line, behind the establishment. So the key to a good access management is not just driveway control. We also have to provide a good connectivity within the development or provide a backage road to make sure all the activity happens behind the establishment. And as you can see, this development is designed in such a way that customers can access any business that they want with no conflicts with the main line. At this time, I'll turn it over to Gary.
Okay. Thank you. One of the things that we like to do is get an idea of how many people are out there in webinar land. And so I'm going to ask you how many people you are watching with. And let me launch that poll. Okay. If you could. All right. This is good. This is good. With the majority, vast majority of you all voting, I'm going to share this with everyone. And when you comes up, you'll see it. You'll see that most of you are sitting at your computer. And what's nice is that this is a big change from the early days when we were doing webinars. People didn't feel free to sit at their own desks, the comfort of their own desks, and felt that they needed to be with a group. But I think we're getting more and more comfortable with the technology, and more people are recognizing just how convenient this is. I mean, I know that I've attended and actually done some webinars from McDonald's restaurants, so there's a lot of good reason to be able to do this right from your computer. So thank you. I'm going to hide that now. And okay. Now, Gina was talking about the backage road systems and the frontage road systems. They all attempt to do something smart. You know, sometimes the design fails us, but they all attempt to do something smart. And what that smart thing is to connect our networks of automobile, also pedestrian, to allow the freedom and safe ability for customers to get from their businesses to safe and well-placed accesses. In this particular, very common case here, you know, a small business back here that maybe in the days of the small strip center would have just had one big driveway across lanes. Now their customers have the ability to go to a traffic signal to make a relatively safe left-hand turn, and that everybody is sharing everybody's accessibility. And Gina said it, it's not just about controlling driveways. Controlling driveways is really a minor part of good access management, because if you control driveways, you've got to consider where people are going to go. So the way that we get customers and truck deliveries and people walking from one business to the other is through a connected network, not necessarily a grid, but it should be connected. This is a picture from a transportation study that was done in the Jacksonville area, showing opportunities for connecting properties. And I wanted to show you something that is a success story for us. And back in like 1996, we did a series of not webinars, but really live training and seminars throughout the Emerald Coast of Florida. That's the Panhandle along US 98. And with that, I would like to ask any of you that are from that area along US 98, in that area between Panama City and Pensacola, to raise your hand. To see how many people we might have here raising their hands. Okay. All right. Says here we got 6 people with their hands raised. So I'm assuming that some of you might be pretty familiar with these next few slides that we're going to be looking at. So back in 1996, we did a series of training sessions along US 98, trying to encourage good access management practices with local governments. And I'm going to show you a series of photos that we took during this time and after. Destin and Okaloosa County decided to really step up their activities in access management and to create a system of backage roads and interconnected properties along a very highly congested US 98 or Emerald Coast Parkway. And way back when, about 3 years after we did these seminars, a Fridays and a bank went in along US 98 in the Destin area, and their planning officials said, you're not going to get 2 different driveways. You're going to build a service road here to county standards, and you will share. But not only will you share, you're going to build it in such a way that others can easily connect into it as this area develops. Now, mind you, this is during a gigantic growth spurt in Florida, especially this area. Now, what I'm may not have said, that these pink arrows will show you the vantage point of where the pictures were taken. Okay, so the Fridays is not, you can't see the Fridays of the bank. This is really behind them. Well, back in 2003, so just a few years after that, this is what that same area looked like. And that's from this vantage point. And you can see a large hotel came in there, and if you can see really well, you can see there's a shopping center being built here. This is what it looks like today. Notice the Fridays is still there. I think the original bank was bought out by Wachovia, which I don't even know if Wachovia might be Wells Fargo now. But you can see a number of improvements, except for, this is something that somebody pointed out, that there are no sidewalks. This is something that we really, and most local governments, encourage a lot more. So this plan was thought of in 1999, and we've learned a lot more about accessibility. And this is where the Fridays was or it still is. And this is what the backage road looked like in year 2003. Because you can see now that people have connected to that cul-de-sac that you saw a few slides earlier. And this is what it looks like today. Very, very well planted out, and really helps the connectivity between the many shopping areas, not just one shopping center. Okay, to give you an idea of how that backage road called Commons Drive has developed, there's the original Fridays, and there's the bank. Those buildings are both still there, but what you have is Commons Drive coming around and continuing on here. Notice where that red block is, because I'm going to expand the photo, and you can see that Commons Drive keeps going, and this picture up here is only this portion of the slide. So what you can tell is this is where the original service road was. That backage road connecting them has gone many miles and continues further this way, and actually continues across the street to another major shopping area. None of this was pre-planned. Nobody at the county or the city said this is the alignment that we're going to use. They just said, as developers came in, you would need to tie in to these roadways and use county standards to a certain design speed to connect the road, and that's why it's fairly curvy, but it also allowed the developers to have this road built with more sensitivity to their needs. At this point, I'd like to hand over the questions and comments over to Holly and see if anybody has some questions they'd like to ask.
Good. We do actually have one question. Peter asked, are the backage and service roads typically public, or is that privately owned and maintained?
It's my understanding that part of what goes in when the developers are in getting their permits, or actually their approvals to develop, is that the road be built to county standards. However, that road then is turned over to the county for maintenance. So it's actually a good deal for the developers. They pretty much get to choose where it goes, how it fits into their site plan, and then once it's built, the maintenance responsibility is that of the county or the city. Now, a lot of the connectivity we've talked about is not necessarily the backage road. It's just connecting parking lots. Well, in that case, those are privately owned.
Great. We also had a hand raised by Seila Gonzalez. Did you have a question? Please raise your hand again if you do. Yes. Can you type your question in the question box, please? All right, well, we may need to get back to her later, but I think that's all for now.
Oh, I can also unmute some people if they are on speakers. So if any of you have a question that, let's say you're on the telephone and you've put in your voice pin, or if you are on a decent headset, if you raise your hand and say, hey, I have a question to ask, I can actually unmute you so you can speak to everybody. So I'm trying to make it easy because I find it makes it interesting when we can open it up to your questions.
Okay, I did get a response, so I think we're good to go.
Okay, very good.
Oh, we got one more.
Okay.
Latest criteria for access management in both rural and urban.
What is the latest criteria for access management? The easy answer to that is that our standards for Florida DOT, for Florida state highways, has not changed since the 1990s. And I would recommend if the, and I know a lot of people have this same question, we at DOT will produce a very simple chart of standards and then have 100 pages of footnotes underneath of it. And that's really where a lot of the activity takes place. So the best thing I could do is, in a follow-up letter to the attendees here, is give you and this is within the presentation, so when you get the presentation, the link should be there to our website, where we have things like the median handbook and the driveway information guide, which is more of a how do we use the DOT standards, which fits in one table, and how do we use it in real life. And I hope that at least gives you an idea of how to get your question answered. All right, I'll move on then, and then this is where I hand it over to Gina to talk to us about continuous right turn lanes. Gina?
Okay, thank you, Gary. All right, we talked about frontage road. Now let's take a close look at the right turn lanes. Even though some of these right turn lanes just work just similar to frontage road, again, the purpose of these right turn lanes are to get the traffic movement or right turning movement out of the through movement. But again, we have to look at the design of these right turn lanes. All right, not all right turn lanes operate as first of all, the operation of an exclusive right turn lane is much different than exclusive left turn lanes. So when it comes to exclusive right turn lanes, we have to take a look at the design of these right turn lanes to make sure these right turn lanes, again, are not creating any confusion or conflicts for the turning movements. Next, please. Right turn lanes work fine if they end at the intersection and if there are not many driveways, one after another, adjacent to the exclusive right turn lanes. The reason for that is that the cars that are taking the right lane or exclusive right turn lanes, if I'm riding or driving behind one of these cars, I'm not sure where these drivers are going to make a right turn. If they are going into these developments, if they're going to the next driveway, or if they are making a right turn right at the intersection. Next, please. All right, so in order to make these right turn lanes to work better, so we need to break them up. So how do we break these continuous right turn lanes? The picture on the top, as you can see, it's broken. As you can see, as you turn into the first driveway, it's a continuous, continuous right lane. It continues, okay? You can go to the second one and you can continue and then ends at the intersection, okay? So again, this type of continuous right turn lanes create confusion. I'm not sure if I'm driving or especially if I'm not familiar with the area, if this car is going to this driveway or the next driveway or the one after. So it's really difficult to predict where these movements or where these exact right turning movement going to take place. So the best design of a exclusive right turn lane is that to break these right turn lanes. And as you can see, the bottom picture, it's a better design. It's very clear to the drivers that each of these right turn lanes just ends, or you can make a right turning movement into these driveways. So we break these continuous or these right turn lanes with pavement in between of these right turn lanes. Therefore, it's easy to predict, it's easy to anticipate where these cars would take the movement. Obviously, the car on this side we can make this right and cannot continue to the next one. And it's safer for the bicyclists. As you can see, there is a bike lane adjacent to this type of right turn lanes. Bike lanes know exactly where these cars are turning, and cars, even if they're turning to these driveways, cannot just continue to the next. They have to go to the inside lane and make the next right. So again, on the top picture, creates conflicts, confusion, not only for the drivers, but also very unsafe environment for the bicyclists.
And this is Gary. Let me point out, we have a question here about the typical section for the bike lanes. And those are available through the publications we have at Florida DOT, our standard index, our plans preparation manual, all have the proper way to build and position these bicycle lanes as they relate to exclusive right turn lanes.
Okay. All right. Again, this is another example of breaking a continuous right turn lane. Again, just to create safety, just to create safety not only for the drivers but also for the bicyclists. So what we do again in this picture, as you can see, in order to let the drivers know this is not a continuous right turn lane, we can separate them or break these right turn lanes by these break pavements, just to let the drivers know this is not a continuous right turn lane. And we create or built right turn lanes again to, at times we think it's much more safer, it creates better capacity on the road, creates better level of service, gets some of these turning movements out of the through movement. But again, at times we think we are overbuilding right turn lanes, from driveway to the next driveway, from intersection to the next intersections. But again, we have to make sure when we provide these right turn lanes, what type of design are we providing? Is this a continuous turn lane? Do we break these right turn lanes? So this is a right turn lane that it stops, or it's not a continuous right turn lane. It's just, you can tell a driver can see this just ends at this driveway or at this intersection, and again, the cars that are following this car will know that this is a right turning movement, and they can anticipate when this driver is making a right turn. This is again, this location is in Tallahassee right here, and as you can see on the right hand side, well, you will not see the Burger King, but there is, at the time when this Burger King was built, we had asked to provide this right turn lane to this establishment. Okay, so this right turn lane, since the driveway it's kind of close to the intersection, drivers who are not familiar with this area, when we say they're not familiar because this is coming from the airport, the drivers thought this right turn lane would take them to the intersection or would take them to the main line. But that's not what it took place. So it took them to this development or to Burger King. So now what we have done, we have asked Burger King, or we have actually, it has changed, and this exclusive right turn lane continues and ends at the intersection. And this is the picture, actually the corrected picture that it continues and ends at the intersection. All right, another design that's really that we don't want to see on the road, that we don't want to create an unsafe or unexpected situation for the drivers. This is very short and sudden and unexpected to drivers that a right lane comes up and ends right here at the driveway. Again, the thing is, we don't want to build driveways at every, right turn lanes at every driveway. We want to make sure the right lane has a it's a decent length, and it's not just look like a dead end, something that is just unexpected to the drivers. And I'll turn it over to Gary, unless you have any questions. Thank you.
We have a couple of questions here that I think we can address fairly easily. And Guoqian asked, do you have minimum standard on the length of each turn lane when splitting continuous turn lanes? And well, we at DOT really do have minimum lengths of right turn lanes. Okay, and that's it's based on deceleration and design speed. However, if the continuous right turn lane is posing a big safety problem, we may on occasion allow for a shorter length to be in there, but that would be up to the individual designer and traffic professional. The other question we have is, can continuous turns be broken down with striping only? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. The picture that the picture that Gina showed you.
His voice in like a recorded one.
Really?
Yeah.
Earlier. Of that one right there. That's a paver, but if you run over it, you just hear a rumbling. What we're really trying to do, and I guess the least expensive way, is to let people know, don't use this as a continuous right turn lane. And if you're out there every day and it's been changed, at least that'll give them a reminder that it's no longer a simple right turn, continuous right turn lane. So I just wanted to show you that. I mean, because that picture of the pavers is very similar to just using striping. It just looks prettier. That's all. A lot of the answers, or at least links to some of the answers that some of you are asking, can be found in two handbooks that we have at our home page. This first handbook is the Driveway Information Guide from 2008, and it says fairly up to date. You can see there's a link there, and at this point, I want to ask you whether you're familiar with the FDOT Driveway Handbook. I'm calling it a handbook because that's what it used to be called, and we still and some of us still call it that. So I am going to ask you this question of whether you're familiar with the Florida DOT Driveway Information Guide. And because we're pretty proud of it, actually. What we did is, those of you who are designers that work in Florida understand that one of the difficulties is that we have guidance in various places. And one of the things that you do as a professional in Florida is learn, well, that's in the plans preparation manual. No, but that's in the standard index. And then sometimes within the the design standards, some very related things will be on pages that are 100 pages apart from each other. What we try to do with the driveway information guide and with a related document also, the median handbook, is try to end the confusion by saying this is what you should do. This might have been what you learned in college, and to find out the site for it, you go to the plans preparation manual, and we try to put links and references in it. And all of these are free for downloading on our website. All right. I am going to close the poll. I'm going to share it. And I'll wait until you guys can see. Yeah. You'll see that a majority of you are familiar with this, and I'm very pleased about that. But I see 40% of you are not familiar with it. If access management is more than just a passing thing that you do on occasion, I highly recommend you going to the website and downloading it, at least as a PDF. If it's the kind of thing that you would use as a professional, every week, I would also recommend printing it out. So, thank you for that information. And, all right. When it comes to right turn lanes, we did an entire chapter on right turn lanes, exclusive right turn lanes, in the driveway handbook, and we discussed some of the issues that we got on the questions too. And another question. Yeah, okay, that was answered. Any of you that are like in a real hurry to get any of this, I've found that if you Google Florida DOT driveway information guide or median handbook or access management, you're going to get right to our site. And let me say, you'll get to the site faster than going to the main DOT site and trying to figure it out. All right. So when do we make people build right turn lanes? Like like Gina said, sometimes these right turn lanes, if we overbuild them, they get in the way. They can interfere with safe operation of a bike lane, pedestrians on the sidewalks, constantly going in and out, and so we wanted to make sure that these exclusive right turn lanes, especially in permitting of new driveways, were done in a reasonable conservative fashion. And once again, since I do work for DOT, so we have a simple table that when you actually get to the handbook, you'll see that there are a number of things that are underneath helping to explain these. So on a roadway, state roadway, where the where the speed limit is 45 miles per hour or less, you would go with a 80 right turns to 125 right turns before you would, I don't like to use the term warrant, but when the professional should consider within this range. And for those that are over 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, you can see that it decreases because the importance of a high-speed road to not have to slow down for every person going in a driveway is more important. Higher speed road people are not expecting as many people to slow down to turn right. So if it's a high speed, high volume, it would be 35. If it was a lower volume roadway, then you might even want to go to 55 right turn lanes before you require an exclusive right turn lane into that driveway or development. And we do the same thing here for both. And and I'm not going to go into any detail here, but within, as I said, we have an entire chapter on this. We talk about, what if there's only a few turns an hour? Should we have them build a right turn lane? And the answer is, yeah, sometimes. Sometimes when there's a trucking facility or a school that's going to be used by a lot of school buses, or the possibility that a school has a drop-off center that could back out, sometimes that right turn lane is helpful, even if there aren't the numbers that you see here. Many times in our publications, you will find that we say that the professional is in this business not to just read a chart, but to actually make decisions based on the conditions. Another thing that we've seen that might have been caused by some of our overzealous access management practices in the beginning are extremely narrow driveways. Yes. Okay. So the problem is that back in the 60s and 70s and the 80s, we learned that these narrow, really wide open driveways, which you still see, that just allow a person to come in and out anywhere over 300 feet, that's bad because there's no positive guidance there. But it led to some professionals to think, well, maybe the more narrow the driveway, the better it is. So, if very wide driveways are bad, then narrow driveways are always best, which is not true. Here's one of those typical, very old, wide open sections. You can go in and out almost everywhere except where there's a manhole. So this is an example on what was a state highway. Of a driveway which I consider to be too narrow and not well designed. What happens is, if you think about it, I'm going to go back to this picture, there's only room for 2 movements on this, and that's in and out. And this is a road which allows left turns out, which means that when a person wants to go left on this busy road, what they're doing is they're holding back all the people who just want to turn right. There's a lot of gaps for right turners, but not a lot of gaps for people who want to go across both streams of traffic. So again, this is in the driveway handbook. We have some guidance on when to consider these 3-lane or the width of 3-lane driveways. I thought this is in Colorado, and this is a way in which the designer here was able to keep the environment for the pedestrians using the sidewalk and for the occasional truck that uses this entrance to have a driveway that serves them both. The cars will naturally tend towards the asphalt. The trucks will use that portion of paver when they need to, but it's essentially, during most times, a narrow driveway that serves the function, and I'll also point out the fact that is what looks to me like a very flat surface that should handle wheelchairs going across without them tipping over, which is one of the bigger problems with the older driveways that we used to build. Another thing that I've seen done around the country, sometimes by us, is that we take a road from 2 to 4 or 4 to 6 lanes, and we do a great job designing the road and a great job with the signal systems and the medians. And then what happens is we sometimes leave driveways that are inferior to the ones that were there before the improvement. This is a restaurant on US 41 before our widening, and this is what it looked like after the widening. You know, from this view, it looks fine, but from the view of you know, from the sidewalk, you can see that the grade is a very large problem, and I'm not faulting our designers so much as I would fault the people who fund these things. I am sure that our designers fit this in as best they could within the budget constraints, because you know that when you start having to make this a better driveway by getting rid of some of these grades, it would require purchasing more right-of-way, which I don't have to tell you is very expensive. So this is another case in which we improved the roadways around this property and left driveways that you can see from the gash marks that really wouldn't meet our standards had the person come in for a permit. But this is something I think we may have allowed when we went in there to do the improvements. Again, to correct a problem like this with all the gash marks does cost a lot of money. This is just another view. You can see the gashes even more. Now, this is another part of the state in which they widened. It's an extremely wide, high-speed urban roadway. It's Fowler Boulevard in Tampa, and you'll see there's lots of driveways there. And the point that I'm trying to make here, especially to our designers, is, you know, access management, like I said, it's not all about getting rid of driveways. It is about other things too. And in the case when this roadway improvement was done, I don't think they got rid of many driveways. However, they did replace the driveways with a design that is wider and allows a more high-speed entrance and exit out of this driveway. It may not look that wide to you from the picture, but we actually, this particular driveway, we looked at trucks coming in and out as well as cars. And you know, one of the things you want to do with a driveway, if it's not anything left out is not an option here, is to design it in such a way where vehicles can come in and come out without encroaching into each other's area. Because if they encroach too much, then the right-turning car from the high-speed roadway is crawling to get here, and then with a problem of a possible rear-end collision. So I'm going to open this up for more questions. Yeah, thank you.
Good. Thanks, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a couple of miscellaneous questions. Let's see. The main one going back farthest is how much is access management design kind of changed based on public feedback?
Yes, you have touched on probably the most important consideration in modern access management. A number of you have been in this profession long enough to know that there is a science and an art to traffic engineering, traffic design, and in order to be successful and do the things that make that roadway safer with access management, you sometimes have to do things you wouldn't have done if you were king of the roadway. Matter of fact, I would say every time. You are never going to be building to the perfect standard. We have a special interest in working closely with not only the landowners, which we found, sometimes the landowners don't even care. It's the business operators. They may not even be the owner of the franchise. They just may be the business manager of the Pizza Hut. They may know more about how their customers and trucks come in than anybody. We encourage our designers to meet directly with people as much as possible, and even though we have to have public hearings for major improvements, we really do try to supplement those with more active and smaller meetings where people can talk about things like how are my trucks going to come in. And I'm not saying we've always given to public pressure, but I can say that in the number of projects that I've been involved in, there are changes based on business comments, residents' comments that, frankly, even our engineers said, wow, I didn't think about that. So long answer, short, very important, and we do have lots of publications on that too. So if you're interested, you'll get our email, my email address at the follow-up letter, anything that we mention here that you can't find, just send me an email. Okay. All right.
Great. All right, moving on. We also had a question about the continuous right turn lanes. I'm not sure what you mean here, actually, that they do not include any type of informal signs. And we also had a question on the striping. I guess they're both concerned on how do you retrofit and make sure everybody is aware of what the changes mean.
Once again, that's where you have to think, if you are a public employee and you are working on road improvements, you know that if it's a major road improvement, you have all sorts of federal regulations that tell you how many meetings you have to have and how far away from the center line you have to invite people. But we know even for small projects, it's best to get involved with people early. I have seen signs temporarily put in place to warn drivers of a new situation. I think when it comes to the continuous right turn lanes, let's say you're just going to put striping in there, so they mess up once or twice. They go, whoa, I shouldn't be here. So they can learn from that. I don't believe that anywhere in the manual on uniform traffic control devices you can look up this problem and find exactly which sign to put up. And in fact, if anybody out there knows something, because I'm not an expert in the manual of uniform traffic control devices either. I hope that somewhat answers your question.
Great. Hopefully that'll get most of the questions. Let's see, going on again to the continuous right turn lanes. There was some confusion that those were not recommended, but then they were also recently constructed on US 19 in Pasco County. Do you have any comments on that?
Well, do you mean that they realized that the picture that we showed was that US 19 in Pasco County? As all things in our profession, sometimes things that are, I could say are generally not recommended, sometimes it's the only way to do something. Now, on that one picture I did see for that continuous right turn lane, it didn't look like there were a lot of driveways off of it, and I'm basing this on one view, and it also looked like there were not a lot of property owners. In other words, the possibility of a lot of driveways coming in would not be great, and maybe that was the reason it was built in that location. So when we say discourage, we don't mean never, ever, ever do it. We mean that, discourage. And I am unfamiliar with the US 19 Pasco County decision making, other than the fact I saw that picture, which I thought would be good in our training.
All right, great. I think we've got two more. Let's see, on the dual right turn lanes, they were wondering how is the best way to address crosswalks in that situation.
That is something I don't know anything about. That, I mean, the whole question of dual right turn lanes is still new science. So I'm going to beg off on that. I think you would want to Google that one. We had a dual right turn lane that Gina and I have used in training to show people, and since we used the pictures, they took it out. So really not familiar with dual right turn lanes.
Okay, we'll look into it and get back to you.
Okay.
Last one we've got right now is right turning traffic volumes.
Yeah.
There's a recommendation in Plans Prep Manual to do that when volumes exceed 300 vehicles per hour, but our driveway guide has some different numbers. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I got a comment on that. It's interesting. Sometimes we have different people writing different things, and this is an inconsistency that was brought up a month ago at our regular access management meeting, and we are, God, I hate to sound like a bureaucrat, we set up a committee to look at this, but no, we're gonna look into this. The criteria that was used was different for both of these recommendations. However, it is this inconsistency that led us originally to reevaluate when we would make developers pay for their exclusive right turn lanes. We got in a situation, like if you think of the Burger King, so here we asked Burger King to build this really nice right turn lane, and yet at the intersection we didn't think it was worth it. You know, it led to some questions of, you know, how does that equal treatment? but we are going to work and try to harmonize these two things. But at this point, all I can tell you is that the 300 right turn lanes per hour at a signalized intersection, which is in the plan's preparation manual, came from fairly quick and dirty analysis using the highway capacity manual from a few years back, whereas the numbers that you see for driveway recommendations came from some of the latest national data on percentage of cars that are following the right turner that are interrupted by that right turn. Okay, so that we used, one was a capacity criteria, the other was a safety criteria. Okay.
All right, I think that's all for now.
All right,
Please
thanks.
keep the questions coming in if you think of anything else.
Great. Okay. One of my favorite subjects is the pork chop. Those of us in access management know that what you have is one of the most dangerous maneuvers, and if you were on our last webinar, is that the left turn out of a side street or driveway. And medians are expensive, medians are unpopular, so why not just put a pork chop and a sign, and then this way people won't turn left out of driveways. Problem solved. It's cheap, and the only problem is it may not work too well. So trying to limit turns with driveway design alone is an iffy situation here. You notice all the signs in that tiny little island. We took pictures out there. We're trying to get an idea of the maneuvers. This is this driveway. We went across the street to take pictures, and this guy here, he wanted to turn left, but he saw what looked like official government workers across the street, so didn't know what to do. Now this person here really just wanted to turn right and was really tired of this person blocking their way. So you can see what the person did. He went out the in maneuver just to make his nice right-hand turn. We never went to, took pictures of the guy turning left out of there, so we don't know how that turned out. So I'd like to ask everyone here a question, and to be honest here, I will not share this data with any law enforcement officials here. Do you obey signed turn restrictions or pork chop islands? And let me launch that. And yeah, there was me. I always do. This is good. We have a very law-abiding group here with about 70% voting here. All right. Okay. All right, most of you had voted. And let's take a look at, I'm going to close the poll now, and I'm going to share it with people. I see here that I think I wrote that second one incorrectly. So some people always do it. Some people, and I'm sorry, I was supposed to say I don't, but only when no other people are around. That's kind of like me. I'm sorry. And then 8% really just think it's advisory for all drivers, but since you're such a good driver, you don't have to worry about it. All right. Okay. Another good publication that came out, if you're interested in driveway design, is the National Cooperative Highway Research Program Report Guide for Geometric Design of Driveways. It's the first national study of this probably since early 1960s. You can see that there is a link to it there, and they also have some comments. Brag a little bit here. The authors of this report did admit that the Florida Driveway Information Guide was one of their inspirations. So, channelizing islands need to be larger than this. And lucky for all of us, the Driveway Handbook has some dimensions that are part of our design standards and some that are just recommendations. Again, one of the benefits, I think, of some of our handbooks is that we can get away from, okay, this is the minimum standard, that's all there is. We really try to, what we really try to do is, take all that great learning that the professors gave the engineers and designers in school and say, look, remember, this is why we design things this way. So this is just some guidance on the width of those divisional islands in the driveway. Okay, other questions, Holly?
All right, we do actually have a couple more questions. Let's see, most recently, I think a couple slides back, we got Amanda wondering, is there a link for the NCHRP?
Yeah. Now, Amanda, when I send out this, I will send out this presentation in PDF form right after the this presentation, okay? And what will have it is all you have to do is go through this presentation, and that link should be a hot link that'll take you right to it. If there's anything that you need, you will get my email address at the end when, and I'll make sure you get what you're looking for. But I mean, I can take it back to this, but the problem is it's going to be hard to write down because you can see here those aren't spaces, those are underlines, and that's why I try to put the hot link right into the slides. But please be assured, it's our job to get what you need if we can get it. So I'm not weaseling out of anything. If you don't get what you need or the link you need, just email me. Okay.
We do have one more question.
Okay.
It looks like an example and another concern about public involvement. Let's see, Tharwit listed this situation on State Road 46 that has specifically bike and pedestrian users cutting across traffic on the right turns. Mm-hmm. And he was wondering, is there any involvement from FDOT when counties, cities, and locals do these projects?
I am not familiar with anything specific to that. I do know that pedestrians will do what they want to do, and I'm not blaming them. Sometimes we transportation professionals have created an environment for them to where if they did what they were supposed to do, they would have to walk an extra mile. But I really don't have anything, any information
For some of
on
these
that.
specific situations, maybe an email after the webinar would be most appropriate, so we can address that later.
Yeah, maybe we can send it to the right people too.
True.
Yeah.
All right, that should be all for now.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so here are our email addresses. I'll leave this up for a bit. This is something that you can copy down, and you can bother any of us. Hey, sorry, Gina, I put you at the top. So, sorry, I put you at the top, Gina, and I put myself at the bottom. I didn't do that on purpose so people wouldn't bother me. But those are our email addresses, and I will, as soon as possible after the end of this presentation, download the email addresses of all of you out there and send you a link to this presentation in PDF format, and all the links on it should be hot. They should take you right where you want to go. All right? Okay. And with that, if there are any other questions, just write us. Just write us, and we'll try to get it to the right people. And again, I'd like to thank you for your time and effort to be here with us today, and I hope you got something out of it. And if you had any technical problems, like an access code or a phone code that was invalid, please send me an email to that extent, and we'll try to see where something went wrong. I'd be lying to you to tell you that we know this program inside and out. Gina and Holly can tell you we have been spending a lot of time trying to figure out some of the issues that have popped up with it. Okay? So thanks again. I'm going to end this webinar, and do write us with any of your questions. We will do our best to get them to the right people. All right.
Yeah, thank you for attending.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Appreciate it. Okay, bye-bye for now.